Welcome to this live feed. Connect these speakers. Everybody can hear me. And we've got clear sound. Hoping everybody can hear me. Just had a bit of an issue there, technical issue with sound. Welcome to this live feed. Hoping everybody's exceptionally well. So it's an interesting topic this evening on sexual maturity and defining sexual maturity. And what does that actually mean for both men and women, for all peoples? What does it actually mean to be sexually mature? And how we relate to ourselves and how we relate to others as well. And a big part of sexuality, of course, is our neurocognitive selves, our emotional selves, the way our minds function and work, the way we relate to others and the way we relate to each other. There's a plethora of varied aspects of self and expressions that come with defining our own sexuality and defining how we relate to ourselves. But essentially, I want to begin with this term, sport fucking. And it was interesting, I was having a conversation a few weeks ago with a dear friend of mine in the US, and we were talking about sexual maturity, and I can't remember how we got on the topic. It was relevant to something. And we were talking about this objectified version of sexuality and this goal-orientated version of sexuality, and what it means for us as human beings in terms of transcending our own fears, our own pains, our own stuckness, for lack of a better term. And this goal-orientated way of looking at life, like consistently we look at everything in life in a goal-orientated way. We look at everything in life in terms of objectives, something that we have to attain, a place where we're not currently at, and we have to reach, or we have to be there. And we take this energy, we take the essence of this idea, and this is a social construct, it's a collective norm. We take this idea and we bring it into every fucking aspect of our lives, including the way we sexually relate. Now, whether it's self-pleasuring or we're sexually relating to ourselves, or whether we're sexually relating to others, this is the problem that we're facing, or the puzzle that needs to be solved. Just making a couple of different noises or sounds, and I'm just hoping that you can hear me. Can you let me know that you can hear me, please? I'm assuming you would have let me know already if you couldn't, but please do let me know. Also, let me know how you're feeling today. Maybe an emoticon in the comment box. Let me know how you're feeling and how you feel about this topic as well. Okay, I'm assuming Amanda can hear me with a thumbs up. I'm assuming that's a thumbs up for that. I'm assuming Corey can hear me with a thumbs up as well. That's good. It's funny, he keeps making this strange noise. Let me do something here. One moment, please. Hello, Denise. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming on. So I'm assuming you can hear me. We're all good. I'm going to keep going. So we come into the world, and we live in this world where we are so we're so driven by being. I'm going to do something different here, people. Tech problems. I'm assuming you can hear me well now. I'm going to stick with that. I've got a backup here just in case. Okay, so we take this energy of goal orientation and having to achieve something, having to reach a particular objective, and we bring that into our sexualization of our own selves and the way we sexually relate to others. So it's all about finishing, it's all about ejaculation, it's all about orgasm. It's all about this goal that we have to reach or we have to hit. And we lose being in the present moment. We lose being grounded and connected to what we are feeling and what we are experiencing in different layers, depths, and vantage points, and what the other that we are experiencing that experience with, what they are feeling, what they are experiencing, what they are moving through. Because we're so hyper-focused on this objective. And that is all that matters. Now, there are cases in our world where that contrasted, that doing energy, that go energy is necessary. We have to be able to achieve our goals, our objectives. We have to be able to reach a particular accolade in life. We have to simply attain something that we are pursuing. But to be in that energy or to be in that expression consistently 100% of the time will not serve us, because it's not the only expression that we have. We're contrasted beings, where we require an expression of being able to be present and grounded and very clear on not having an objective, but rather being open. And this is the interesting part, being open to what unfolds. So simply making a choice, a conscious and aware choice to act in a particular way, and then observe, simply observe what occurs in the unfolding of that action, that decision that is made to whatever it may be. And these are I'm speaking to micro decisions here being made, even a macro decision. So you've made a decision about who you want to be or how you wish to move through the world, or you wish to embody something or a particular experience, or you wish to ask to take your life, or maybe you're looking at a particular... One moment. Just let me know that you can hear me again, please, because I've just changed headphones, because that wasn't working for me. It was annoying the fuck out of me. So let me know that you can hear me once again, please. That would be great. So we've made a decision that we want to, and welcome to everybody that's coming on, by the way. I can't see everybody that's coming on, so if you just give me an emoticon, let me know that you're here, and let me know that you can hear me again. Apologies for any technical issues this evening. And so, okay, awesome. So we move through life with this consistent need to achieve, this consistent need to do, this consistent need to attain and accumulate. So whether we're accumulating experiences or emotions or material things or accolades, whatever it may be. But sometimes in life, that doesn't always work. We need to be someone different. So how do we actually then move through life without having this notion? So when we're talking about defining our own sexual maturity, and we're going to move through some of the characteristics that may define sexual maturity. We'll move through some of the characteristics and some of the postures and the embodiment postures that allow us to be more mature around self. More mature is meaning more connected, more aware, more considerate of the other. In fact, that's a characteristic where we become quite empathetic to the needs of others and also empathetic to our own selves. So we're paying attention to the spectrum of emotions that we are feeling within ourselves and the spectrum of emotions that we are feeling or observing within others as well. So what does that mean? That means not polarizing the emotions that we feel, not polarizing what we're moving through, whether it be sadness, whether it be pride, whether it be disorientation, whether it be shame or guilt, is not ignoring these emotions, but rather embracing them and understanding that there is something to learn from them. There is something that we can gain from immersing ourselves in this emotion when we feel it, as opposed to ignoring it and then dividing and isolating the inner chasms of our own selves and fracturing who we are emotionally and psychologically. And that's a good point, Daniel, brother. It's not being a selfish lover. It's considering not only your own perspectives, but also the perspectives that others are taking. Now, the only way we can do that is when we embrace the wholeness of who we are. So when we feel the spectrum of emotions that we feel, and we purposely choose not to polarize ourselves. Good evening, hoping everybody's beautifully well. And when we choose not to polarize ourselves, we give ourselves an opportunity to be present to everything that we're feeling. And that becomes an exposure. And in that exposure, the familiarity occurs. And in that familiarity, we develop and cultivate tools and ideas and aptitudes in terms of how do we deal with this difficulty or this pain or this challenge, or how do we deal with this overwhelming sense of joy, even this overwhelming sense of happiness. Because some people have never experienced deep true connected happiness. And it's very overwhelming. And when something is overwhelming and we don't understand it, we can generally, not always, but we generally shy away from it. We fear it because it's the unknown. So we push it away, or we push it down, we suppress and we oppress it. And where does that leave us? That leaves us, again, fragmented and broken within ourselves. And we move through life awkwardly. Now, we will struggle then to recognize these varied emotions and these varied expressions in other people, the subtleties of how people express through their non-verbal behavior, through their body language, even through their verbiage, even reading between the lines. We will struggle because we're not paying attention to ourselves. So to be mature in our posturing, we have to pay attention to everything that we are. And we have to choose not to subjugate ourselves, not to judge ourselves harshly. We have to choose to be really present to who we are and embrace all of the emotions that we feel, including our sexual desires. So how do we further define sexual maturity? It's understanding our own yearnings, our inner yearnings for sexuality and what that means. It's understanding our fantasies around sexuality and being present to these yearnings, these desires, and exploring them within ourselves firstly, exploring them perhaps with others. Once we cultivate that honesty and that understanding and that connection to ourselves, then we bring them into relationship with another. We bring them into relationship with those that matter to us, with those that are important to us, with our beloved, with those that matter to us, those that are significant in our lives. Now, I want to be very clear on something here as well, and this was part of the conversation I was having a few weeks ago with my dear friend, is that it's not about, so sexual maturity is not about monogamous or non-monogamous, or holding a monogamous or non-monogamous posture. Again, you don't have to be in a relationship to be sexually mature. It really stems from self. It's understanding who you are first and foremost, or at least being on a journey of understanding who you are and connecting, being willing to connect to the wholeness of yourself. Where again, we ever really experience wholeness in fleeting moments? Absolutely. But that changes regularly as well, because we change and we evolve and we grow and we expand as beings, yeah? So there's nothing, I want to be very clear on something, and this is just my opinion and my view, there's nothing wrong with having multiple partners. There's nothing wrong with being in a non-monogamous relationship. How you choose to define that is up to you, but being honest with yourself with respect to, and this is part of your own sexualization, this is part of, what is it that I want in life, defining my own sexuality and what it is that I want in life. So for many, many, many years, for most of my adult life, I couldn't define that. I didn't have clarity on that. I couldn't understand what I wanted. So I really, I reverted to unhealthy behavior, shadow behavior that was completely misaligned and out of integrity with who I was and the people that I was surrounding myself with. And that's what happens when we're not mature within selves, when we choose to polarize ourselves or we choose to hack ourselves and fracture who we are. We lose that essence of understanding who we are. We cannot then relate to others. So getting really clear on what defines sexuality for you and what types of intimate romantic relationships you wish to have is going to be deeply useful for how you show up in relationship and how you show up in the world and how you show up to yourself, how you treat yourself, how you begin to understand yourself and understand others. And again, if we go back to this concept of sport fucking, this is intimately related to societal constructs and societal influences, cultural nuances that are dominant and prominent in our society. So for example, again, I go back to this object-orientated or this goal-orientated society that we live in, which is part of being in an individualistic society, it's part of being socioeconomically, it's part of being in a capitalist society. And again, I'm not blaming capitalism. I'm not saying capitalism is bad or good. I will give my opinion here. Capitalism in its current form is distorted and it's unhealthy. It's not efficient. That's a conversation for another time. But it's the themes and the essence of these broader, gross, macro models, socio-cultural, socio-economic models that influence our behavior and what we think is right in this world. That's a big That plays a massive role in who we are. What's right? What's wrong? Okay, I feel this is right. I really can't substantiate it, but it feels right, so I'm going to go with it. But we haven't really evaluated it. We haven't gone deep into it. We haven't explored it. And this is part of that sexual maturity. It's exploring the fullness of self at any given time. It's exploring what our needs are. And then it's practicing communicating them, practicing expressing them. So another characteristic of sexual maturity and intimacy, conscious intimacy and emotional intimacy, our ability to be emotionally intimate and express ourselves emotionally and express ourselves sexually clearly and authentically, which means that there's integrity between our inner world and our outer world, is our ability to consciously communicate. That plays a massive role in defining our own sexual maturity. So literally communicating what is important to us when it comes to our own sexuality and our own needs, but also being able to communicate in terms of asking questions and observing what is it that the other needs. What are the needs of another? What are the needs of my sexual partner or sexual partners? What are the needs of my beloved or my beloveds? There's no judgment here. There's no segregation between, again, monogamy and non-monogamy. How you choose to live your life in that aspect is completely up to you. My advice or guidance, if it's worth anything, is be completely honest with yourself and then practice expressing that in a safe environment, with people that you trust, that you respect, and that you revere. And have as much certainty as you can with respect to those people that are in your life, that you do trust, respect, and revere them, and how they show up in your life and how you show up in their lives. And have that conversation, have that communication. And the more you practice communicating consciously from a place of integrity and truth, and you become less attached to the goal or less attached to the outcome of what that communication may give another or give you, or how that communication will affect you and the other, and you're simply speaking for the sake of speaking your truth, because there's a saying in the biblical text, is the truth shall set you free. And it's one of those beautiful sayings, whether you're religious or not, whether you're Christian or not, it carries a great deal of weight. The truth sets us free in so many different ways. And we often struggle to speak our truth, and we say to others, we say to ourselves rather, I don't want to say this because I may hurt the other person, and I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to see them hurt. And I used to be like this for most of my life, where I would make excuses with myself and for myself and say, I can't speak my truth because if I speak my truth, it will hurt them. And I was using the other person as an excuse or as leverage to remain in fear, unconscious and conscious fear, my own fear. And then I would ignore my fears and say, well, I'm not scared. Why do I have to be scared? I would move into unhealthy states of masculinity. I love you too, Renata. I hope you're very well. Give kisses to the kiddies, and give a kiss to your beautiful husband as well. Kiss him everywhere for me. Send him my love. And I used to make these excuses for myself. But really, here's the interesting part, is that I was scared to feel or observe and have the response of the other. It wasn't that I was scared to hurt them. Yes, I was, absolutely. But beyond that, the underlying foundation of not communicating my truth at all, or even consciously or at all for that matter, was because I was fearful of how I would be seen. And that was ultimately a fear of being seen and lowered self-worth. Now, isn't that interesting? Feel into that for a moment. Feel into where maybe you've been that person in your life. So I work with many, many people. I work closely with many, many people. And there are very few that haven't at some point in their lives gone through and being forced to explore, because I was forced to explore, and I'm grateful that I did. Well, I was forced to make a choice. I'm grateful that I did that, but forced to explore the chasms of their own being and the depths of their shadow, and their connection to their own self-esteem, self-worth, self-value. And self-esteem is a tricky one because it's comparative by nature, and we get caught in this vicious cycle of comparing ourselves to other people. He's better than me. She's more attractive than me. He looks stronger than me. He's nicer than me. She's a better person than me. She has more of this. He has more of that. And we're in this constant state of comparing. I'm not good enough because of I'm not enough because of And we lose ourselves in this process. And then we retract and we refrain. And we continue to become unconscious in our patterns. Patterns that we've established during our developmental years. Patterns that we've established so often that become unconscious. They lock in our nervous system. Trauma, all major experiences, all experiences lock in our nervous system at a cellular level as well, in our neurology. And they remain dormant there, but they still infiltrate and influence us. Let me go through some of these comments here. Daniel says, I was the same. I would rather be hurt by the truth instead of damaged by a lie. And Jada says, hey, Jada, how are you? Hoping you're well. True. Most mental illnesses are due to living inauthentic life, living in someone else's way in an unconscious programming. Absolutely. Societal, familial, cultural constructs that are imposed upon us. We take them on as if they're our value sets, as if they're ours. And then what? They're not really ours. And we live this life of distortion and this constant tug of war between us, within us, and between our relationships as well, because we're so scattered. And I can really, really relate to that. Denise has been there often to awakening. Lana, I so identify with what you're saying. I've often held back in order not to hurt another. Erica, self-esteem can block us from truly being ourselves. Yeah, and I went through that and it made my relationship toxic. Yeah, and unhealthy, toxic relationships, essentially, what does that actually mean, the definition of that? Unhealthy, toxic relationships are relationships that are not being lived authentically, and we're repeating negative patterns perpetually, chronically. And we're both doing it. All parties are doing it in the relationship, or you're doing it with yourself. And you're not making the change or the transformation to be able to move through that. Lana says, so how do we release this trauma from our nervous system? Very interesting question, Lana. And the last, for some time I've been looking deep into trauma therapy, and there's some amazing trauma specialists around the world. Dr. Peter Levine is one of them. And I've been doing, that's a really powerful question. I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes on that, and I'm testing it with myself, and I'm experimenting and exploring some sequence techniques for releasing trauma. And part of it is embodiment practice. Part of it is neuro-empowerment practices. Part of it is mindfulness of practice as well. But essentially, we have to go to the core of this trauma. There are many different ways, but getting to the core of this trauma, exploring our shadow selves, knowing and understanding there are different ways to be, living a life emotionally different to what we are living, making associations and patterns, and then breaking those patterns that don't serve us and creating new patterns for our brains, for our behavior, for our emotional patterns, for our relational patterns as well. So it can become quite a layered process, but it's a very powerful question. And it's interesting, like when animals in the wild, they have this intrinsic ability to release trauma immediately. So if they get into a fight, or if they experience a predator-prey scenario, where physiologically they get a major adrenaline dump or a stress hormone dump, they will find, if they survive that, they'll find a safe place and they'll violently shake. Violently is probably not the right word, but they'll shake very hard and very strong. And they release that trauma from the nervous system and they go on with their day, literally. And I believe there's great value in that for human beings as well. And there's various schools of thought on that too. But essentially, this sexual maturity, defining sexual maturity, is ultimately and initially an exploration of our own selves, is ultimately initially exploring who we are as human beings and why we are here. And then gaining clarity through exploration of self, through asking quality questions, so conscious query of who we are and what we want, identifying that with clarity, becoming familiar with that, And then again, practicing that exploration and expression with ourselves first and foremost, and then with others. And moving away from this notion of sport fucking and getting notches on belt. And it's more of a male cultural trait, but it exists in every circle, every cultural circle, men, women, all people. And we need to really move away from this objectification of this very sacred act. Now, again, let me be really clear. I want to be clear on this. There's nothing wrong with having casual sex, or there's nothing wrong with engaging in. This isn't about wrong or right. This is about preference. This is about knowing yourself and knowing what you want, and understanding with clarity who you are and what you need, and then living that life and being honest with those that are in your life as well, so they can then make decisions around, okay, I resonate with this person, I resonate with their needs, I resonate with their values. Cool, I'm on board. That's interesting. I'd love to get more into that. Yes, Jada, absolutely. Yeah. So the vagus nerve there's so much research going into that now. It's like my brain's fucking like going, it's exploding, Jada, and even on polyvagal theory as well, and helping release trauma there too. There's just so much. But you know what I would like? I would like a million brains, and then they're all working on separate things and learning separate things, and then coming together at the end of the day and having this conversation about, hey, this is what we learned today and this is what we did. And anyway, sorry, I'm on a tangent now. I'm just getting excited about learning about trauma and learning about how to release trauma, and understanding how it affects our lives. And it limits us. It really limits us, and it keeps us in fear, and it locks us down. And Daniel, that's cool, brother. There are many people that can sleep with other people and not have an emotional connection. And it's not wrong or right. It's where they're at. But what happens is most people don't communicate who they are and where they are in their own lives, because they don't know themselves. And some people do know, but they're too afraid to communicate that as well. Because we have to understand, we come to life with different life experiences. We show up in relationship, or we show up in certain scenarios and circumstances with different life experiences. And when we do connect with others sexually, when there's an emotional connection there, when we're able to understand that person in different layers, in various layers, in a multitude of layers, it really enhances the experience. But that is for people to understand, that is for people to feel and embody themselves. You can't force anyone to feel or experience that. And some of us are very fearful of making contact with deep emotions. Some of us are very fearful with connecting to our deeper emotional selves. So if we go back to defining sexual maturity, it's really about understanding what it is for you and gaining clarity on what it is for you, and then practicing that openly. And it's only when you embody it and when you practice it is that, well, I shouldn't say that, sorry. It's not only when, but more than likely when you embody and practice it, you'll really understand and know, you'll have a knowing, a gnosis, a wisdom around, is this for me or not? But you can also, you don't have to jump off a 20-story building to know that you're going to probably die or break every bone or most bones in your body if you jump. You don't have to jump to test the theory, right? So there's direct experience and indirect experience. And my beautiful friend Jada told me, that's on this call now, we spoke last year, I think, sometime on this subject as well. And we can fast track our learning through indirect experience because we're social and relational beings. And when we reach a level of aptitude and understanding and connection within self and who we truly are, that really allows us to be clear, to have clarity on saying, yep, you know what, I don't have to have that experience directly to know that it's not for me. I just get it. And Daniel, brother, don't be sorry. And this is the fact that you know that's what you want in relationship or in your own sexual relating. That's beautiful. You have clarity on that. Now go and attract other people that have that clarity as well. That be open by asking. Be open by asking those questions, by connecting. And this is, Daniel says something else here. This is very interesting. That, if I was 15 years younger, I would answer that differently. And so would I, brother. Absolutely. So would I. And this is the thing that we need to move past as well, is that who we were and everything that we've been accumulatively in our past has brought us and led us to where we are today. And that is very important to understand, because when we begin to segregate and judge those aspects of selves that we dislike today, that we look back and we go, wow, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I was that person. I can't believe I behaved that way. I can't believe I thought that way. I can't believe I treated people that way. I can't believe I treated myself that way. And if you hate on that, you're continuing to separate and segregate yourself. And what essentially you're doing is distancing yourself from your own truth and distancing yourself from other people. People that matter to you, people that could be of grave and deep importance. So you have to make a choice around that. And it's about ownership and responsibility. It's about self-care, self-compassion, self-empathy. If you can't practice self-care, self-empathy, self-compassion, and by the way, this is part of sexual maturity. If you can't practice that with yourself, you will not be able to practice that with others. You will not mature in sexually relating with others because you haven't a capacity to be empathetic and compassionate to yourself. How can you be that with others? Now, there are instances where we can treat others in a particular way, yet we don't treat ourselves in that way, but they're few and far between. What's important to understand is that a massive part of how we treat others is how we treat ourselves and how we view ourselves. And this is a beautiful part of our own journey. So really understanding who we are, where we're going, what's important to us, how we value ourselves will determine and can lend itself to how we value others. So if we were to recap and define sexual, actually, I've got a question. I've got a question for those of you that are on here now and listening. In 1 to 3 words, 1 to 3 words only, single words, do something for me, please, and do something for yourself and for all the other viewers out there, because you will really be of service to yourself, because more will unravel within you, more wisdom, but you'll be of service to me and of course to everybody else out there. In 1 to 3 words, define sexual maturity for me. And I'll put on some hold music. I'll put on some hold music while we're waiting. So I'm asking you to define sexual maturity for me, please. Define sexual maturity. Just wait, it's coming. The whole music is coming. What about this one? Hold on. Let me put something fun on. Just wait. Define sexual maturity for me in 1 or 3 words. Let's put a classic on. Ready? Hold on. It's coming. Here we go. I'm assuming you can hear that. A little bit of journey for you. Hold music. There's hold music on. 1 to 3 words. Define sexual maturity. Beautiful. Acceptance, authenticity, openness, trust. Hold music's on. Come on, there's more of you watching than that. Let's get some more words up on the screen. That's great, Nicole. I like the song as well. Give me 3 words, 2, 3 words, defining sexual maturity. Deep, connected, genuine, beautiful, non-judgment, trust, exploration of self, perfect. For me, it's not requiring anyone, beautiful. Best hold music ever, fuck yeah. Trust, freedom, authenticity, awesome. That's twice that word's come up. This is what Telstra fucking needs. This is what the internet carriers need. This is whenever shameless and acceptance. Nina, beautiful. It's so beautiful to see you, Nina, as well. Erotic IQ. Yes, it is, Jada. Yes, it is. Awesome. And by the way, if you don't know Jada, check her stuff out, Erotic IQ. She's a pioneer in this area. She's redefining sexual intelligence and sexual maturity. Very, very cool stuff. Erotic IQ. So safety, integrity, authenticity. And this hold music is fucking epic. Keep these words coming. And I'll keep the song going. A little drive loop for you. Authenticity's come up a few times. It's cool. Linda, welcome. We've got some hold music on. Linda, define sexual maturity for me in 1 to 3 words. And why are people that are watching not getting involved? Get involved. Jada, biohacking, peak performance, self-transcendence. Yes. Good evening, Linda. Send you much love. Reproduce, trust, connected, vulnerable, beautiful. I was waiting for someone to say vulnerability, enlightenment, deep communication. Excellent. I was waiting for someone to say vulnerability. I'm going to define a couple of these terms as well. What a song. I can't stop it now. It's a good riff. But what I will do, vulnerability and acceptance. That word's come up a little bit as well, acceptance. We all wish to be seen. Freedom to feel inhabited. Yeah. So some of these words are very powerful words. This is why I wanted you to get into this exercise and really explore this. When we're looking at this, the song is Don't Stop Believing by Journey, Alistair. Can't believe you don't know it, man. Classic, 80s classic. Bring back the 80s. Okay, pausing it. Let me deep dive into this very quickly. Deep dive quickly. Ecstasy, as is the ultimate brilliance of life, altruism, trust. We spoke of this yesterday. Yes, we did. Absolutely. So authenticity is when our inner world matches our outer world. So our thoughts, our models of beliefs, our paradigms of being, our emotional states, they match our outer world, our expressions, our behaviors, the way we treat others, the way we treat ourselves overtly. That's authenticity. Vulnerability, the power of vulnerability, the power to be able to express ourselves. And that's intimately linked to acceptance as well. Do we accept ourselves for the expressions that we hold within who we are and how we choose to express ourselves in the world? Very powerful. That acceptance is being seen, being heard, being felt, being known, neurologically, behaviorally, emotionally, spiritually, connectedly, relationally. When we are seen for who we are, we feel safe. When we feel safe, we're able to be open. When we're able to be open and be vulnerable and express ourselves, we begin to let go of the fear. We break through fears. I did a post, it was a few days ago or last week. We need to break down in life to break through. We break ourselves down. We delayer ourselves. When we delayer ourselves and break ourselves down, guess what happens? We break through our shit. We break through our limitations. We break through our neurological behavioral blocks. We break through patterns that no longer serve us anymore, and we become more profound in our expression, in our being, in our connection to self. And guess what? Our maturity, the way we evolve through problems, through difficulty, through challenge, through pain. That, my beautiful friends, is defining maturity. That is powerful. So, so powerful. In fact, so powerful that I think the song needs to come back on. And don't stop believing that you can do that. Don't stop believing that you can be that person, yeah? Very, very powerful place to be. When you believe in yourself that much, and it's a process to get there, right? It's not easy necessarily. It's layered, and you're going to traverse many a mountain. I haven't done a long live feed for a while. Usually I've locked them down. I haven't done this long for a while, but I'm going to wrap up soon. The feeling of being genuinely loved by another, absolutely. And here's the trick, Daniel. Here's the thing, brother. I'll call you Daniela as your Facebook says as well. I know you, so I suppose I can call you what I like, can't I? We're friends. Nothing nasty though. Is that the feeling of being genuinely loved by another comes from us being authentic and vulnerable in our posturing and being truthful with who we are and moving through the fears of speaking our truth. That's the essence and the foundation of having or embodying that feeling of being able to openly experience being loved by another. Okay, I'm going to wrap that up. I want you to please feel into defining sexual maturity. I feel like we have to have another hold song. Let's see what else I got here. I feel like we have to go into another hold song. What am I going to go into? Just want to intuitively get into this. What am I going to go into? Another hold song. Carol says, I've noticed my attraction in men has changed the more I evolve and grow. The more of what I was attracted to just turns me off. Absolutely, because you're changing, you're transmuting who you are, you're transforming who you are. That's a good song, Daniel, absolutely. That's a powerful song. I was whinging that you hadn't done a live feed in a while and I missed a great topic to watch back. Thank you, Emma. No, I did a live feed last year. I'm back on. I've been doing it. I'm pretty consistent. Just I haven't done one this long, that's all, for a while. You've been called worse. Yeah, I know, probably by me too, brother. Here's one. Who knows this? I should have this the next time I ask you a question. There needs to be what's it called? Hold music. This is what I'm going to play. Classic. One of the best songs that was ever created. I'm joking, not really, but it's good. How good is this song? Alice, you're bringing out the classics now. Okay. I'm being silly. I'm bringing some light to what we're speaking to, which is super, super important, by the way, because part of sexual maturity actually is being able to have fun and play with yourself and with your partner, and that's a big part of what sexual maturity is. It's a big part of what consciously relating is and sexually relating is, and it's a massive part of conscious communication as well. Is the ability to integrate fun and play into your communication. And there's a time for fun and play, and there's a time for being really focused and serious on how you consciously communicate. But bringing fun and play into your communication and into your own being liberates you in so many different ways. And that's a definitive aspect of maturity, of emotional and sexual maturity as well. And having the emotional aptitude and intelligence and fitness and awareness, the emotional awareness of when to do that and when to implement that and when to be that. Dancing is absolutely compulsory. Amy says, I used to be attracted to physique and confidence, and now I'm attracted to intelligence, depth, and sincerity. It's beautiful. And Mbop is the bomb. It is. I've got heaps of songs here. I just feel like playing songs now. Like, should I just be one of those people that just does a live feed and just plays songs? Is that what we're going to do? Is that what I should do? Maybe I should be that type of person. I should be that person. That I think I'm feeling that. That's what I need to do. That's what I need to be. I should do. This is a good one. It's never too late, Linda. Communication, freedom of expression, vulnerability. I can't not move when I hear this music. Oh, so good. Gypsy Kings. Okay, I want to stop now. I'm getting out of control. Okay. I'm definitely not a DJ. I'm not that good. A bit of an eclectic mix there though, yeah? Okay, so defining sexual maturity. Beautiful people. Share this video if it resonates. Share this video with those that you care for, with those that you may feel may get the message or may need the message. And those that want to have some fun and also just dance a little bit and sing a little bit to the epic music that was played, the hold music, okay? And I'll see you again very soon in the next live feed. Many blessings on your journey. If you have any questions, comments, put them in here, place them in here. And if I get a chance, I'll definitely come back and respond. But of course, just share your thoughts, because you're going to be of value and of service to everybody else that's watching this and also communicating on this platform and on this thread as well. So sending you lots and lots and lots of love. Thank you so much. Take care. Speak to you soon. Shalom.